Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crypto Business Podcast brought to you by tokenized.co. I'm your host, Rob Eigenram, and I have in the podcast with me today Dev and Reinhart. Today, we're going to talk about the news published in the blog Crypto about Russia that is mentioning the following title. Russia set to recognize crypto as a form of currency report. And it reads, authorities in Russia are set to recognize digital assets as a form of currency, according to the local news reports. Russian newspaper Kommersant that the government and the Bank of Russia have reached an agreement on how to regulate cryptocurrencies. They are now preparing a draft law which will define crypto as an analog to currencies rather than digital financial assets. The report further stated that it will only be possible to use them in the legal sector with full identification through the banking system through licensed intermediaries. The news comes just weeks after Russia pushed for a blanket ban on crypto in January, arguing the speculative nature of the industry. As a part of the proposal, the central bank also said that financial institutions should be stopped from facilitating crypto transactions. Separate reports suggest that President Putin is backing plans for regulating the country's crypto mining industry. For further details from today's Kommersant report suggest that crypto transactions of over 600,000 rubles, roughly $8,000, will have to be declared or will constitute as a criminal fine. Fines will also be levied on those who illegally accept crypto as a means of payment. So, what do you guys think of this news?
Right. So right off the bat here, Rob Reinhart, again, very close on the heels of another BRIC nation coming out publicly announcing that they were going to accept and regulate cryptocurrency, right? So both Russia now and India announcing that they're going to, instead of announcing a complete blanket ban on cryptocurrencies, now will acknowledge the use of cryptocurrencies. So it's quite the turnaround, right? Just a month ago, I think it was January 20th, where we had some sources telling us about how there was a conflict between the central bank and the Ministry of Finance, where the Central Bank of Russia wanted to announce a ban as it felt a threat to the use of the ruble for not just local economies, but also international trade. The Ministry of Finance recognized the fact that cryptocurrency was already being used for whether white or black money, and now has received support in that regard. So for sure, I think the sentiment is positive in that the acceptance now facilitates and allows for the use of cryptocurrency for settlement when it comes to international trade, investment assets, using them for making transactions, obviously under the purview of the Russian government and banks, right? I think it opens up an avenue for taxation purposes as well. So my initial thoughts were that obviously this is a group of countries coming out publicly and announcing that one after another. We read something about Brazil a couple of weeks ago, India last week, Russia this week. So it
and
seems
Indonesia
like
last week, I guess.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh yeah, and I want to add just like Indonesia also last week, they just announced the legality of the blockchain, cryptocurrency in Indonesia as well.
Oh,
So I think
Indonesia, right?
right, more countries.
Right,
just
Indonesia.
to add
Right. So it seems like countries don't want to be left behind on this chain of the use and adoption of blockchain technology. So not just is there going to be now the use of cryptocurrencies as a form of hedging against equity markets and bond markets, but also now a major push for the use of blockchain-based apps for innumerable use cases, right? But there are some caveats that I think we should expand upon, where Russia has publicly stated that even though regulation kicks in next year, there will be fines imposed for amounts transacting more than $8,000, right? So that's roughly 600,000 rubles. So anything north of $8,000 will be considered illegal. and you're liable for fines, among other things, and considered criminal. Sorry,
Yeah,
right?
I think it's slightly, what they're saying is basically, well, first of all, they're saying you can only transact through those licensed intermediaries with full KYC and stuff like that. And if the transaction is higher than 8,000 US, you need to file like some special document for that. Which is also the case in other financial systems, right? Above 10,000 US, you need to somehow submit some kind of filing. So I think that's following the normal fiat regulations, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay. So again, normalization of the use of cryptocurrency. But I want to, there's one article that just came to light to me, and I want to share that with you, everybody here, is that when you look at the population of users when it comes to who is actually using cryptocurrency, right? Or where is the largest percentage of users of cryptocurrency? It's really interesting because one notices that here on this article by tinmagazine.com, India, USA, Russia, Nigeria, and Brazil comprise the top 5 countries of actual crypto owners. So, and again, India is 7.3% of the whole population. That's 700 million approximately. USA, Russia too, 11% of the whole population. And of those crypto owners, and so on and so forth, Indonesia is part of that list as well. So it makes sense because a few years ago, right? And this is Tin Magazine talking about how India has 2 times more crypto users than USA, UK, and Russia combined. But still, Russia now in the news. It just goes to show that use cases and adoption of cryptocurrency in the BRIC countries is coming to light, right? Another article here is that SMBs across 9 markets, Brazil, Canada, Germany, UAE, United States, Russia, and Singapore, right? You're going to be seeing huge adoption of small, medium businesses using cryptocurrencies. This is in the Financial Express, right? 59% of small businesses said they plan to shift to using only digital payments. So it's kind of interesting how obviously adoption is becoming more mainstream, and regulation will now give confidence to businesses worldwide that settlements will be taking place on time, they're verifiable on the blockchain, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dev. Appreciate it. What do you guys think of this comparison between what happened last week with India and then this week with Russia, right? It's slightly different because obviously India, as far as I understood, they do consider it as like digital virtual assets. One of the things was that they kind of levy tax on that as well, whereas Russia. I heard some conflicting news about that it is about tax partly, but then if you are accepting it as currencies, I would assume that that's not so very tax efficient for them. So what do you guys think? What is the reason for Russia to do this move? And also this internal conflict that they seem to have, right, between the central bank first trying to ban it, and now all of a sudden, and of course Putin then saying something like that he wants to kind of keep it but regulate it, and then eventually it looks like that's the direction they're going for. So what do you think the motivations are of Putin to do this?
Right. If Reinhart, if it's okay, I'll go. So I think when you look at the BRIC countries, right, whether it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, there's always been, from an economic standpoint, question about how friendly it is to do business with these countries. What are the challenges that one faces? And all these countries have a deep layer of shadow finance, shadow banking, and shadow business, right? Where a lot of it goes unrecognized and whatnot. So on the one hand, there we have things moving towards greater transparency with the use of blockchain and blockchain-related payment systems, again, cryptocurrency or another form of digital coin. And on the other hand, you've got leaders of these respective nations trying to see and gain control or retain control. Again, speculation for sure, but one could assume that it's in a way to maintain that authority and maintain a grip over the oligarchs that still continue to, one way or another, rule economics in Russia. Right, you still have the 5-6 families that really drive business in Russia, right? But at the end of the day, Putin is still the man who lays down the law. So it's really interesting to see that dynamic play and that relationship unfold. And again, I really appreciate you bringing up this concept of analog currency, because it begs for more research. We will wait and see what they really mean by that, as far as the tax implication and how that plays out. Where India is very clearly announced 30% tax rates on an analog currency and not classifying it as a digital asset. We'll wait and see what implications will be when it comes to taxation on that currency. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting take from you, Dev. I haven't really realized it as well, that what you're saying about this oligarchy in Russia, that definitely if you go into it, and I'm definitely not an expert on this in any way, but what I've read in the news as well is that, there are some political things playing now between Europe, the West, and Russia, and of course then it comes up with those kind of sanctions that especially US can lay on Russia, and they can freeze bank accounts of those people in the Russian oligarchy, stuff like that, which makes them vulnerable. So it kind of makes maybe sense, as you're mentioning, to have these digital currencies that theoretically no one can influence. It's like decentralized. So it's kind of almost ironic that even for some governments, this fact of decentralization can be in their benefit. It's not just for kind of civilians that want to be not like kind of to rely on government, stuff like that. So interesting take. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you.